Hello again, everyone. This is Jim here. This is the first volume of what I'm calling sub-stories. I introduced the concept in my last video, and I'm going to go through a number of responses today, and I think you'll see why I was so motivated and amazed at the responses when I start reading them to you and bringing them out into the open. Again, the idea is to recognize people, to provide motivation or suggestions where possible. Some people are struggling, looking for help. Others just are doing great and maybe need a pat on the back. But I just want to share all this, and I'll just say before I start that I'm going in alphabetical order. There's no preference list on here, but so we'll just go alphabetically, and I'm going to go through it. I don't know how many I'll get to in this video, but we'll try to keep the videos fairly concise. So here we go. The first response is from One Golden Breeze. It's a commenter I've seen around before. And this is one of the interesting things. Many people, I'm familiar with them from my comments, but I didn't know their story. They didn't share their part of it to me in the past. They typically just respond to what I said. So I learned about people. I learned things about people that have been in my comments for a while. Some very interesting things I had no idea. So the first comment is from One Golden Breeze. I'm 2 days post-fast, and I went 16 days and lost 20 pounds. I feel great, and I'm doing the refeed. My first taste of food was a cup of boiled bone broth with an egg dropped in and allowed to cook in it. It was so good, like an egg flour soup with all the extra junk in it. Today I had more of the broth, a cup of tea, and a few pieces of chicken. That was all I could handle. Tomorrow I plan to do pretty much the same and add some liver. So far I've only gained back 1 pound, but I know that may increase a bit as the days go by and then taper off, so I continue to lose. My appetite hasn't returned yet. I like doing alternate day fasting more than OMAD, but I plan to keep doing OMAD until my appetite is closer to what seems normal for me. I'm still in my journey. My goal is to get back to my pre-wheelchair weight and doing it in a more healthy and hopeful way than trying to starve myself, which was a bad mental place to be, but I felt desperate. My loss has been slow but steady, but had slowed dramatically before this fast. I want to give it a boost. I'm hoping I get a result similar to what you received with your extended fast, as far as an overall boost to continued loss. But I don't know what will happen because I'm much more sedentary. Whatever happens, I no longer feel as though my weight will just climb and I have no control over it. I could never figure out the right combo to account for the fact that I was no longer ambulatory. That is no longer an issue with intermittent fasting and keto carnivore. I have hope that I will be a healthy weight again. I'm 5'9", and my goal is 158 to 168 pounds. So, right off the bat, this first response just blew me away, and it was like this over and over. One Golden Breeze, I have my hats off to you for taking these steps. I'm really amazed. You're doing the fasting. You're somewhat limited in a wheelchair in terms of being able to exercise, I'm sure, but your approach seems very sound to me, and I really hope that the fasting adds the kickstart to your weight loss like it did for me. And I'm really interested to know in any follow-ups if you found that to be true. When I fast 16 days, you lost 20 pounds. Now, for me, I would always gain back, typically it was from 2 to 5 pounds depending on how long I fasted. And in the beginning, I gained back much less. And as my weight went gradually down and down and down and getting closer to the goal, there was more of a bounce back. I think in the beginning, my first long fast, I lost 24 pounds, and I gained back 3. And then the final long fast I did, it was like I gained 20 and gained back 7 or 8, something like that. It became less of a payoff, and that's fine. The main thing, though, and I pointed out in some of my videos, is that every time I did that longer fast, I got off the plateau. After I gained back that little weight, then the body started to seem like the body got a signal that, okay, it's okay to go further. You've got to lose more of this fat. So hopefully that works for you. Um, um, and I'm just so pleased with your attitude, your intermittent fasting and keto carnivore. That's kind of what worked for me. I hope it does for you. I hope you reach your goals, and I just can't thank you enough for sharing your story. I'm sure I'm sure you will motivate many others by sharing this story, and I hope to know that in the future how things work for you. Okay, the next comment comes from Ann A. And Ann A says, "Hi Jim, I'm one of those lurkers who never comments on anything, much less on YouTube. But since you asked, I feel obligated to respond, as you specifically are the person who inspired me to try OMAD." Well, thank you, NH. Thank you for being a lurker that stepped out of the shadows, and I'm happy that I inspired you to try OMAD. So she continues, I happened to watch a video from the BBC on fasting, and the next one to show up in my feed was your interview on 6 Miles to Supper, and I watched it. I started OMAD the next day. That was 7.5 weeks ago, and I have lost 8 pounds with 10 more to go. I've never been obese, but I had been schlepping around up to 18 extra pounds on my 5'4" frame for 10 years, age 47 to 57, and was resigned to things getting increasingly worse. OMAD has turned everything around for me. I have more energy, I exercise more, and I have overhauled my diet. Like you, I threw myself into finding out everything I could about fasting, autophagy, disease prevention, etc., and have settled in on a Mediterranean plan that I love and is bringing great results. The best part is that I am not constantly having to say no to myself, because those cravings just aren't there anymore, gone. I watch your videos because I find you incisive, thoughtful, almost philosophical about food and our relationship with it. I'm not on the carnivore train, never will be, but we can still be friends. Wow. Thank you, Anne, for the comment, and I am super inspired by this. Yes, we can be friends. I'm no, Mediterranean diet, Mediterranean plan. I'm fine with that. I mean, and I'm so glad. I love when I get feedback that this channel has resulted in somebody trying something and they made great progress. That they're after being stalled. You're kind of in a little bit middle age, like I was, and you found something that works. And OMAD does work. It's eating less often. That gets things moving, and you find the food plan that works for you, and things happen, and suddenly your life changes. And I love that everything is changing. When you do something, when you find the right mechanism, everything gets easier. Like you say, you have more energy, you exercise more, and now you're studying more about disease and fasting, and it just snowballs. So thanks, Anne, for being a lurker who shared your story. We can be friends, and keep us updated with how you're doing. Our next comment comes courtesy of Becky Marshall Design. And Becky didn't identify herself as a lurker, but I put her down as a lurker because I don't believe I'd seen her commenting before, but I could be wrong. But and anyway, she says, You have great presence, Jim. Okay. Uh, Thanks for sharing it with us. I agree. Food is beyond fuel. It is a celebration of life, and to eat is to honor that which dies to give us life, whether it be from the local ranch or down the mysterious industrial food supply chain. I started snake diet style prolonged saltwater fasting on July 17th at 340 pounds. Today, on April 8th, I weighed in at 175 pounds. At first, I regularly fasted 7 to 10 days, longest 20. These days, I push for 72, must be 72 hours, and often 48s, like 2 and 3 day fasts. I break fast based on how appetizing my cat's food smells to me. That's hilarious. Um, my body will continue to change, also known as I'm still losing weight, until I find some equilibrium based on my body's messages to me. It is such a gift to have learned my body's language on this journey. It's like I had my fingers in my ears before to not hear the pain. I eat mostly carnivore in order to maximize nutrition while minimizing calories. I'm not strict carnivore. I definitely don't care for restaurant food anymore. Um, and Becky, I look. She has her own YouTube channel, and I'll link to it below. What another incredible journey. Um, it's 340. I'm not gonna do the math here, but it's like 165 pounds she's lost. Um, Doing the snake diet style. Okay, so this is again fasting. Fasting was key here to get the ball rolling, and she's just rolling along. This is a great story, Becky. Thank you for sharing it. I like your I like your idea of breaking your fast based on how appetizing your cat's food smells. That makes some sense to me, to be honest. Um, And I like the fact, what I like about what you're doing is you're listening to your body. I preach that from the beginning, and I think it's a good guide. You know, when you're fasting, listen to your body, listen to what it's telling you. Uh, you're sort of like going into no man's land when you start doing some of these things, and you feel like you don't know all the answers, and is what I'm doing correct or not? Your body is the first thing to tell you when something you're doing is wrong. So listen to it. Um, I am glad that you're open now and you made this huge change. Carnivore, I mean, I think you made a good choice there with the nutrition um, and not strict. That's fine. I mean, you don't have to be strict. That's more for people that have specific illnesses or healing that they have to do. But yeah, you can be a carnivore style diet and still be and still live your life and participate with other foods as long as you got everything under control. So, and definitely don't care for restaurant food anymore. Yeah, I'm with you there. Restaurant food is lesser quality, it's lesser nutrition. It's just, I don't enjoy going to restaurants anymore compared to what I used to. But thank you, Becky Marshall Design, for sharing your most interesting story, and huge congratulations to changing your life. That is a. I mean, we're 3 stories into this, and they're all just blowing me away. But this is fantastic. Thanks again, Becky. Our next story, sub story, comes from Bev Kleckner. Hi, Jim. Every day is a struggle for me. I wake up every morning feeling guilty for what I ate yesterday, but knowing that it's a new day, I start all over. You are an inspiration. I'm 60, 240 pounds. My highest was 280 several years ago. I recently discovered keto. It has changed my life. The sugar doesn't taste as good as it once did when you're fat adapted. I try and eat OMAD. I've been a vegan vegetarian for the past 5 years. I have brought salmon and eggs into my diet to help meet my protein requirements for keto. I don't think I will ever try carnivore. I really love vegetables. My biggest struggle is consistency. I admire how you are so consistent with all you do. eating, running, push-ups. You make up your mind and just do it. Same with your weight loss. You make everything seem so easy, although I know it hasn't been. Why some people can be so disciplined and others can't. I can't even begin to count how many times I've started over. I've been trying for the past 20 years, but I can't give up. My life depends on it. I agree food is more than fuel. It's personal, it's social, it's everything. It's everywhere. You can't live without it. When you are a food addict, you just can't give it up and never touch it again. That is what is so difficult, the self-control, the discipline, the consistency. Once you conquer those things, that is when you can succeed. I'm not there yet. Love your videos. You're so down to earth and to the point. Thank you, Bev, for this very honest and open comment, sharing your struggles. Number one, I'm glad to hear your attitude. You cannot give up. Don't give up. Okay, you're 60, I'm also 60. And that's why I started this channel, is to people don't give up on themselves. You're 240, you obviously you've got some room to go on your journey. You don't want to be 240. You want to continue to improve on that. So I understand. Let me just say this. You struggle. You try to eat OMAD. You have trouble with consistency. Let me say about consistency. Number one, you praise my consistency and discipline, but I was never that way. It found me. Once I started doing the right things, to me were the right things, I found the consistency and the discipline. I never had that before. It came to me. Once I saw, hey, I'm doing something and it's working, I said, well, I better become consistent and not change anything because this is working. Same thing with the discipline. I didn't mind being disciplined and consistent once I had something working. I don't know if that makes sense, but before that, I was the most inconsistent and undisciplined person you can imagine. That's why I was in the condition I was 3 years ago. So let me just say, on the vegan vegetarian thing, and you have brought salmon and eggs into your diet to meet protein requirements. I think that's a good option. I'd be honest, I definitely don't think a vegan diet is sustainable in the long term. I don't think you can get adequate nutrition on it. Vegetarian is much better. You've got some animal proteins in there, which your body really needs. You said you don't think you'll ever try carnivore, that you really love the vegetables. Let me just say, and I'm just being honest, I don't know that your body really loves the vegetables. You may love them, but your body is craving other things. Your body is craving protein and nutrition. And vegetables just don't have a lot of it. I mean, I know they're talked up as being the savior for everything, but it's not really that way. And I just wonder if you really love the vegetables or the things you have with the vegetables, the cheese or the butter or the spices or whatnot. I mean, I found that to be true for me. I thought I loved vegetables too, but once I started thinking about it, I really loved them as a vehicle to get at other things like butter and salt and cheese. But I don't know, you said you discovered keto. I don't know where you're at on the keto spectrum, how low on carbs you are, but if you're having trouble staying consistent, I suspect it has to do with being not totally broken of the habits of the sugar or the carbohydrates. It's hard to stay focused until you've broken those habits. So my suggestion, and here's where I'm really going to want input from other people, because I don't pretend to be totally knowledgeable about vegan or vegetarian diets, and maybe there's people in my audience that are, and I hope they contribute if suggestions if they are out there. I'm not going to say you have to go right to carnivore, but I would certainly really look at your carbs and really trying to up the nutrition. The salmon and eggs is maybe just for starters, but I would add more, because you'll find more satiety and less interest in other foods, in snacking, and you'll be able to sustain your OMAD. You didn't mention it. You said you try and eat OMAD, so I assume that means that you're not always successful at it. The more you get into the higher protein, the more you up the protein, the more satiation and the more easy it is to sustain OMAD. So that's my suggestion. Of course, maybe there'll be others, but don't give up. Keep working at it, and find what works. Ultimately, you're right. You've got to do it. You have to succeed. So keep at it, and thanks for contributing, Bev, and let us know how it goes. The next comment comes from Bidnow, who's a guy that has been in my comments, and I've exchanged comments with many times in many different places, and I didn't even know his story, really. So here's Bidnow. He says, my story is that at 6 foot, I went from 352 to 192 from age 56 to 59. Since then, I've been in maintenance, recomposition, experimentation, and N=1 testing mode. My weight range has been 218, 190, 203, 174, 208, 176, 205, present 177, next goal. I feel much more in control of these weight fluctuations as opposed to any prior yo-yo dieting, even if these numbers suggest otherwise. My challenge is that I like to consider the viewpoint of others, mostly higher carb athletes, trainers, and bodybuilders, and see if my response to carbs is normalizing over time. If I experiment with too high a carb load for too long, I do feel myself falling off the wagon and rely on fasting or the like to regain control. So thanks, Bidnow, for the comment. I didn't realize you went through a similar phase at a similar age and a similar weight drop to myself. So congrats on that. So you're experimenting now. You feel in control. You're not really. I didn't really understand the sequence of weights that you gave me here. Is that monthly or yearly? I'm not sure what I'm looking at. You say it's not yo-yoing, even though it looks like yo-yoing. It's just you're experimenting, and I perfectly understand that. You can experiment with the higher carbs. I personally, I don't have that interest. I'm doing well with the low carb, very low carb approach. Even my experimentation, as you know, is to see how far I can go with my physical, on the physical side, with no carbs, and I've found very little limitation on it. My running and my recomposition and everything is going along quite well. Yeah, I mean, my hat's off to you for experimenting. Just keep it. My suggestion is make sure you don't go too far with it, because it does. I mean, to me, it would feel like falling off the wagon to go back to the higher carbs, and I'm really not interested in experimenting with that. But hey, do what you want to do. But thank you for sharing your interesting story. I had no idea, but that's really cool. And I think we'll do one more on this video. We'll do one more story. It comes from Birdy Meehan. And Birdy says, glad you're feeling better and able to get out and run. I'm at maintenance. I have been for years now, but trying to do OMAD. Find I have trouble doing this on weekends. Love your videos. Thanks. Okay, thank you, Birdy. Thanks for commenting. I mean, Birdy didn't have a whole lot to share. Of course, she's in maintenance and trying OMAD. So, things have worked out for her. I assume it's a her. It looks like a her. Again, thank you for the response, Birdy, and let us know how OMAD works for you. So I think, I went a little long here with these 6 stories, but that's enough for this time. And I hope stimulates a discussion and some comments and suggestions to the people who were struggling. So please, anybody, just in the comments, direct your comments to the particular person. And I think in the case of Becky Marshall Design, she has a YouTube channel, and I'll link to that. You might want to check that out too. So that's it for this first edition of Sub Stories, and we'll keep going on with that and see where it goes. I hope this will be a positive experience for everybody and generates some nice participation. Thanks again, everyone. We'll see you next time.